This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to the March 11th Traffic Board meeting. We have Mark Donovan from Public Works, Ray Standish from City Engineering, and myself as voting members today. First order of business is approval of the minutes from the February meeting. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, first item on the agenda is Megan Chineka, Hotchkiss Street, alternate side parking exemption. Dan?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. That's all right. The alternate side parking, okay. What we want to do, make it begin for next year. Hotchkiss Street is a narrow one-way street. It's a curvy street. There's residents on both sides, but the parking, the way it's set up right now, is if we go back and forth and you know, with plowing and stuff, that it is impassable at times. So if we can make it exempt from alternate side parking, just have the one side, which it already is, as no parking, I think it would be a better setup than going back and forth.
So Dan, walk me through this. It's not operating well during the winter time. For what reason?
Well, this is coming from the Chiqueta there, Megan there. I'm just going by what she's saying, and then by knowing the street, that it appears that that's you know, for moving the cars back and forth. Sometimes you get cars parked on both sides of the street. With the exemption, you get it parked on the legal side of the street during the regular time. And with alternate side parking, some people move the cars already, so it makes it impassable. When cars are on both sides of the street.
Rules and park on the side they're supposed to park on, then there should be no problem.
Yeah, but everybody doesn't go out and move right at 5 o'clock. That's the problem. You know, some people, like when it's not a snowy time, you know, there is an exemption with the police department. Not, I should say exemption. There's a period of time where they allow a little bit of flexibility to move your car. But again, it's just what she's saying. I'm just presenting the proposal. We don't care one way or the other. We just following up on it as to the reason why.
Okay, and what I'm thinking, Dan, is that, you know, Mark, maybe you can get with your folks and take a look out on the street. Last thing I'd want to do, because, you know, right now we're not going to make any changes prior to April 1st. So have your folks take a look at this and see if, you know, for next year, and we can put it on the agenda for next month. I just want to make sure before we make a street exempt that DPW thinks that it would be a benefit for snow plowing rather than a deterrent.
Yes, I agree with that. And, you know, because we don't want to go out and make every street exempt in the city. That would be foolish. But just knowing what the situation is over there, you know, it is a very short street, and I could see where there could be a problem. That's my only presentation. I could see a problem there. But so if you want to put it on hold, because we got a full year to worry about it.
Yeah, so we'll make a note that Mark will take a look, and John, and see what can be done.
The issue with snow plowing in the winter, people don't move their cars, and we just can't get up there. So to me, that sounds like a viable solution, but we'll take a bigger look too.
Okay. Next on the list is some of the issues at 5 Court Street with the signage or bike and pedestrian safety. Dan, you took a look at that?
Where's that location?
A 5 Court downtown?
I did not have anything on 5 Court Street at all. Was that from last meeting?
Yeah, it's okay that we can bump that to the next meeting. This was Obed was talking about bicycle and pedestrian safety near the crossing that was installed at right near the Court Street Bridge downtown. So I think that whether it's Uber drivers or delivery that are stopping either in the crosswalk or near there in front of the new hookah lounge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do recall that now. Yeah.
If he's asking
Yeah,
to
we
move
didn't
that
look at
crosswalk, that's not gonna happen.
No,
So-
not moving at the crosswalk, but if there's efforts that we can take, whether it's dealing with the business or looking at that area to prevent the people from pulling up there and parking. So we can hold that until the next meeting. Obed brought that up. He's on military leave. That's why he's not joining us today. We can take a look at those for next meeting. We also have North Street. Dan, you had done some work on looking at that intersection or that.
Yes, we did. And our findings are, first of all, stop signs, what she's requesting, stop signs are not for speed control, as we all know. Speed bumps, they're really for specific needs, for locations where you maybe have pedestrian traffic, where you're coming up to where heavy traffic, pedestrian traffic being crossed, like down at Lourdes Hospital where they have them. I don't think they should be on every street or any street in the city because they're kind of dangerous to have out there. That's my opinion. But we did review the street, and the prohibited parking signs are up and posted as they're supposed to be. On the north side of the street, the entire length of the street, there's no parking. On the south side, the cutbacks are how they're supposed to be. We reviewed the accidents for the last 3 years. 2018, at Edwards and North, there's just been 2 accidents at that intersection. Mather and North, 2 accidents over a 3-year period. Walnut and North, there were 4 accidents over a 3-year period. Chapin and North, 4 accidents over a 3-year period. And Murray and North, 4 accidents over a 3-year period. There's one DWI accident where a fellow thought he was falling into a driveway and pulled up over the curb line into somebody's yard. Then there's several non-intersection accidents. For example, rear-end collisions where either parked cars were hit or somebody slowing down and got hit from behind. Couple backing from driveways, 1 animal struck, and 5 hit and run side swipe type accidents. So, over a 3-year period, the type of accidents that occur in each intersection doesn't appear to, meet the needs for posting an intersection as a 4-way stop. So the complaint about the speeding, I think it's just going to be an enforcement issue over there. And I really don't think that speeding is, an issue that's, that heavily a thing over there because the street's so narrow that maybe just the idea that people are going up and down the street at 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour makes it seem like speeding. But there could be the periodic person that speeds, but everything that we look at really doesn't indicate that there's a speeding problem over there.
We can put the double stripe down the middle, paint out the parking areas, and paint out the crosswalks. All that paint should slow people down.
Dan, could you send to traffic board in an email what you detailed, whether it's what was reviewed as it relates to the no parking here to corner signage, the accidents. And then, Ray, as you said, we can work with DPW to make sure that all crosswalks are painted, stop bars are painted where it needs to be. The double yellow, I think, would help, and as well as the no parking here to corner. So, those are that's paint on the street, but that can assist. And if at a certain point we'd want to do the walk of that corridor to identify if there's any infrastructure improvements that are need be. I think we talked about doing that maybe a little bit later in the spring, summertime.
Sure, I can. That's no problem at all. I'll get that done for you and get that out to you.
Dan, thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing, Lori, if you can hear us, I know Tito is on. If you could grant him screen sharing permissions, we had an application, Tito, that if you could bring up on your screen for 19 Evans Street. We're a couple items away from that, but I don't have a copy of that application. And Tito, if you could share that on the screen, that would be great if you're with us. Next is an update on Riverside Drive and Murray Street. On March 1st, the signal went to flashing on yellow on Riverside and flashing red on Murray Street. I've driven through the intersection multiple times. Traffic seems to be flowing quite nicely. I spoke to the dentist office on Monday or Tuesday, and there's some folks that walk over Riverside from Murray towards the river that said that it's a bit more difficult to cross without having a red light there. One of the things that I think needs to be done is there is on the north side of Riverside on Murray Street a curb cut near the intersection, and there were two cars parked really close to the stop sign, making it so maybe you wouldn't see the stop sign. So I think as part of the signal intersection that we need to look at putting a no parking here to corner sign on Murray Street on the north side of Riverside Drive to prevent a couple of cars from being parked there. And I can work with Dan Merkel to do that. I think that should be done as part of the scope of the traffic signal removal study. I don't think it requires another action, but the way that the geometry of the intersection is, it puts a car that's turning onto Riverside Drive in almost the center of the street because there's two cars parked there. I don't know if anyone had any other comments or observations about a week and a half into this.
Yeah, I did have a comment from a resident about that intersection before we even put that sign up. She is a resident of Murray Street, south side of Riverside, actually the east side of Murray Street. And she's complained about people coming through that intersection and almost taking her out while she's backing out of the driveway. So maybe when we're looking at that no parking here to corner, we can look at that maybe on the south side of Murray Street, south of Riverside Drive, on that east thing from the corner to the, maybe 10 feet or 15 feet in or whatever, just to give an eyeball so when somebody's coming around that corner, somebody can see it.
Yeah. And probably those should have been there, to begin with, or may have gotten removed over the years. But that was my one observation. Ray, were you going to say something?
No, Dan was going to say something. Okay. I did talk with a fellow that lives at Vincent and Murray Street, and he says that with the light on flash, he used to use that intersection, but now he uses the intersection of Oak and Riverside because that's the only way for him to get out of that street. Also, he says he does have access to Chapin and Riverside as well, but if he's in a hurry, that he does use Oak Street. So I think the people down there are becoming conscious about the intersection there and are using alternate routes.
Yeah, and I think I think about my morning commute that I choose to go up Nealon because there's a light there, and I don't choose to go up Helen to get off of Riverside because it's just better to navigate onto a street if I'm going a certain direction with a light. So hopefully that will continue for folks that live down there to utilize. If they do feel more comfortable using a light, that they go to a different intersection. So if no one else has any other comments, we'll continue this for the month of March, April, and May, and that will complete the 90-day time period. Cindy, did you have anything on your end?
No, I've observed it working much better than it had been. So.
Okay. All right. So we'll move to 19 Evans Street. This is an application through the traffic board installation of a driveway. Tito, you've got the documents up here, correct?
Yep, and they would like to construct a 9-foot wide driveway to the left of their house. I'll show you here. This property does not have a driveway. This driveway on the right of the house belongs to that blue-gray house there. And so they'd like to put a driveway to the left of their house, 9-foot wide. It meets the zoning code. The only thing is that stood out in the application is that it does not seem like they're making a provision for a proper concrete apron. I don't know if that was just, an omission from the application, or if they're actually planning on doing blacktop all the way to the street. But obviously they would need an apron, and they would need to continue the sidewalk.
And Ray, that would fall under a street work permit in your office, correct?
That's correct. Yep, they'll have to take out the curb and put a new curb in, and then they'll have to put a concrete apron in, replace any damaged sidewalk, and construct their driveway.
Okay.
Okay, the only thing that, from the traffic board, I did talk to Wanensky yesterday, and I went up to the planning as well. The only thing we want to make sure is that they don't overstack the driveway with, I don't know if they have more than one vehicle or not, but if they do have 2 vehicles, we do want them to be encroaching on the driveway or the sidewalk. And the second thing is, from the planning was the no construction of any temporary or permanent building at that location because of the, I guess it's a 15-foot right away there between the property lines.
Okay. So it's, knowing the street and the fact that the property does not have a driveway, my preference is that we do approve it, but to note that it has to be done by the book with the driveway apron, curb cut, continuation of the sidewalk, and that, as you stated, Dan, that 9 feet is probably enough room for one vehicle, and that multiple vehicles are not hanging over the driveway, hanging over the sidewalk or even onto the apron and street.
That's correct.
Well, the driveway is 45 feet long. That's plenty long enough for 2 cars, so.
Okay.
Right, yeah. 9 feet is the width. It's 45 feet long.
That's my mistake. Makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, but you still don't, if you get 2 big vehicles in there, you still don't want to be overhanging the driveway on the sidewalk. But the other thing is that they want to make sure is that the, that they don't want to put like a temporary garage or
carport, lean-to, whatever.
yes, some kind of construction there because of the from the border of the property lines there to there's supposed to be a certain distance between the property lines and a facility being inserted.
Right, they need to have a minimum side setback, and if they can't encroach on that side setback area.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So essentially the traffic board would entertain a motion for approval of a curb cut for installation of a driveway at 19 Evans Street as presented to comply with the city's new driveway rules, as well as any planning or zoning rules as part of the application.
I have, I'll entertain that motion, but I just want to make another comment that the driveway is 9 feet, but the opening in the curb should be like 12 feet to have room to make the turn to go in and back out. Otherwise, if we keep that 9 feet opening, there's a good possibility they'll be backing over the curb all the time instead of the driveway. So it should be like 12 feet. And then the apron tapers from 12 to 9 by the time it gets to the sidewalk. And then behind the sidewalk, it's 9 feet.
And Ray, that would be handled through the plans that you would review in your office, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. So do
I'll
we
make
have
the
a
motion for
motion?
the curb cut.
Ray, make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mark, seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll notify the applicant and direct them to get a street work permit.
Perfect. And Tito, while you're still on, I know that as part of the Deco District project that's ongoing, the Streetscape Improvement Project, that the City's Commission on Architecture and Urban Design is the lead agency for the project and managing the seeker process.
Right.
As the traffic board, certainly has an interest in that plan, we will be reviewing the plan if it's in addition to changes to on-street parking, curb bump outs, access, that sort of thing. And we'll probably do that at the April meeting. But today, we would need a motion to basically accept CAUD as lead agency for the Deco District. They're operating in the historic district, so CAUD is the lead agency. Does anyone have any questions on that before we entertain a motion? Tito, is there anything that I left out in my explanation?
No, that's correct. You have to do coordinated review under seeker, which means you have to choose one lead agency for the seeker process, and CAUD has stated their intent to be that lead agency. So if you all make a motion to defer to them, then they can continue the process. And once they conclude seeker, which would probably happen at their April meeting, after that point, the traffic board, with seeker being done, would be able to vote to approve. If you choose to approve it, you would be able to, at that point, approve the changes.
Okay. So we'd be seeking a motion to accept the city's Commission on Architecture and Urban Design as lead agency for the Deco District Streetscape Improvement Project. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Ray makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mark seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And Tito, you'll communicate that to CAUD and Barton and LaJudas?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The other thing that came up, and I know, Mark, you talked to John Paddock about it, and I was talking to the chief a little bit last night, is the recent installation of the handicap parking signs on Allendale.
Mhm.
There appears to be some sort of concern that the individual who may have requested the signs was a tenant in the property, and that the signs are now in front of a home at Allendale that we did at a previous meeting. I think it was either December or January, and the property owner is sort of taking issue with that as a necessity due to off-street parking. I know, Dan, that it took a while, but you ended up speaking to the applicant, and it was determined that there was an issue with off-street parking. Is that correct?
There was an issue that, it's a single driveway between the two houses there, and the parking in the rear of the house is just wide enough for one vehicle on this side, and on the other side, the same issue with the shared driveway. But No, I didn't understand it to be, a tenant that was making a request.
And
I
Tito,
thought it was,
you can stop screen sharing, Tito, if you want to.
I'm sorry.
So I guess the question is that, and I can't recall this coming up at a traffic board meeting before, is if we have a tenant of a building that's making a request for an on-street parking change through traffic board, and that based on the information we have, that it's a warranted request, but the property owner that it's kind of mostly affecting is in opposition or has some questions about it. We sort of have to figure out a way to resolve this. I have not spoken to the property owner. That's something that maybe we need to research before the next meeting. I don't know if anyone, Cindy, if you ever recall this coming up in any previous traffic boards, or Ray, I can't remember a time that this has happened.
I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that before, like if someone was renting an apartment, and maybe Dan would know, but it seems like they have come, if they've had all the proper credentials for handicap parking, and requested one, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Dan?
Yeah, I can tell you one location we did do it was at 5 Mozart Street. We had a handicapped lady there, and she's a tenant. We did approve it there. The thing is that the street is a public street. It's not the landlord's property. It's our street. And, if we make a determination that the person is handicapped and that, handicap parking is necessary for the person, that we provide it. And I think that that's how it should be.
And if
Right,
we,
It should be dependent upon the person who's handicapped, not the owner of the property.
and if we were able to determine that the property owner had worked out a solution for off-street parking that worked for the applicant individual, that would probably be the best case scenario, because then the on-street handicap parking would not be necessary, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll take the lead, and Dan, I'll work with you and see if we can come up with a solution. That if something can be worked out between the applicant and the property owner, the applicant says, I no longer need this specific spot, then maybe, we can move forward with it. And I tend to agree that the property owner is not necessarily, they're a party to this sort of thing, but it's ultimately our street. So this is kind of an interesting situation, but maybe we can get to the bottom of this for next meeting.
Okay.
Did any other members of the board have anything?
Yes. I think this is from Giovanni Scaringi for 116 Glenwood Ave. I don't know if you received it or not.
Yes.
But he's making a request for 15-minute parking in front of that location. Anyhow, I think that he's gotten ahead of himself. I don't think this has probably gone to planning and or engineering, but the location used to be a bar, and I think the business has been out of business for an extended period of time. It's at the corner of Glenwood and Prospect, and so there's no grandfather clause, and the fellow has not provided any on-street parking for his tenants, for his customers. And I think with the no parking there, the traffic that's going through there and everything, I think that we should probably deny it at this time. I think if Giovanni wants to have the tenant pursue it, going through the proper channels, going through planning and or engineering first, instead of going through traffic board, I think that's going to be the proper way to do it.
Tito, are you still on the call? Tito might have left us.
Yeah, I did stop up to see him yesterday, but he was out of the office when I stopped up.
Okay.
Because,
The thing too is
Yeah,
I believe there's no parking on that street as is. It's a very unique intersection. Certainly on the other side of on Prospect, I don't believe that there's any on-street parking. So I'm not sure to what extent they've received administrative planning approval or not. And we can look into it further for next meeting. Any other questions from members?
yes. We had a special meeting for the flat lot parking on Holly Street.
Yep.
And one of the questions that I asked at that time was about the loading zone there. Did we want to take up that at this time? Or do we want to put that on hold? This would be the loading zone just west of Washington Street on the north side of Holly Street.
Dan, I think that we still need sort of measurements or to take a look at that. We can plan that for the next meeting to approve those and get that painted as we need, but I don't believe you have any of the measurements, right?
No. In fact, what happened is that when they were originally going to build the housing project over there, we did make that part of the map that was made up did include that in it. And so my question is, do we want to keep it there, or do we want to eliminate the parking, the loading zone parking? And I think that probably with the access to the flat lot parking, you probably want to eliminate it.
That's something we'll have to look at, because the other part of it is that, looking at the curve of Holly Street to not have the two lanes, that's another consideration too. So now that we know that the housing is not going in and that this flat lot is going in, I think the entire area around the parcel has to be looked at. But Ray, is there not the pedestrian signal upgrade work that's going to be happening there? Is that this
Yes.
summer?
Yep.
Okay. So as part of that, do they have recommendations for, obviously there's going to be signal upgrades and some orientation of the intersection, correct?
Yeah, the intersection is not going to change much. It's just taking the existing signal and all that hardware down and putting up new signal poles, any ADA ramps that are missing. But that's kind of the extent.
Okay.
But you don't have to have a loading zone. You can stripe off an area, just making an island, a painted island, to keep people from driving there, if that's the case.
Yeah. Is
We
that
talked
something
about striping that whole area? So
the folks who did the design for that, is that something that we could see what their plans are and kind of build off that for the rest of the street?
I have their plans, but I don't think there's any striping for that area that you're talking about. I'll look at it.
All right,
get
we'll
back
look
to
at that for the April meeting.
Okay. And the last thing that I have is Conklin Ave. Do we still want to meet on that to decide what we're going to do, or do we want to accept the plans as presented?
Yeah, we can meet on that. Dan, you want to work with us to set up a time?
I'm sorry, the phone's ringing in the background.
Sure, you want to work with us to set up a time to meet on that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be stopping in probably next week. Why don't I give you a call and I'll figure out my calendar by then, and maybe we can set up a time between the two of us.
Okay.
Then we can share it with everybody.
All right.
Okay.
Any other members have anything else?
I got one thing I wouldn't mind bringing up. Over on Broad Street, where our DPW garage is located, there is no signage up for parking on that street. It's not a huge issue at this point, but it seems to be more so in the summer when deliveries are being made to the so-called, some of the businesses there. Everybody has a driveway, everybody has a way off the street, but it seems like when cars do park there, and there is occasion when they do, especially right across the street from our entrance, it's very difficult to get in and out of our area, and trucks moving up to Bird Adams and the other businesses on that road to get around each other. I wouldn't mind seeing no parking on either side of that street if we could do
This would
that.
essentially be addition of no parking anytime signage on Broad Street from Bevere to the dead end.
Yes.
That actually was passed, I think it was passed back in 2019. I pulled up for the traffic, excuse me, traffic division, and they passed it on to John Paddock, I think, or somebody over there in DPW. And it's just a matter of putting the signs in.
Oh, okay, great.
But it's been passed already. I can pull that up for you if you like.
Yeah, Dan, if you could send that along to everyone, make sure Mark gets a copy and his guys can put the sign up.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else have anything?
Is this for the public or for me?
Sure. I think we're all set from a staff standpoint. Heather, if you'd like to comment.
Okay, again, I wanted to know if you had a time limit when you may be putting up the speed limit signs on the south side of Pennsylvania Avenue. There are none.
I do not have any type of timeline specifically to that.
Is there something specific that I need to do to request that?
You're talking about about what area of Pennsylvania Ave and then to what area to the city line you're talking about?
Specifically, I'll give you a house number 152. Up to the town line, there are no speed limit signs. The south, going south.
Okay.
And it seems to be after the last speed limit sign, that's when everybody picks up speed and just makes a mad dash up the hill.
So your preference would be at maybe the intersection of Gillen and Pennsylvania Ave for the addition of at least one?
I think they're supposed to be every so many feet, if I'm not mistaken, if I didn't read the code correctly. So the legal amount is what I would request.
I'm not. I don't know what the legal number is.
I don't think there's a legal number. I think it's just pretty much
There is
the
no
entrance
legal number.
and then sporadic locations, where the speed changes, like from a school zone to the city zone again, or a park zone or something back to the city zone. But to have it,
I would agree with Dan, Jared. I think because the city has an overall speed limit of 30 miles an hour, it would be like where it changes from one zone to another.
Correct.
There isn't a set amount that you have to have.
That's correct.
Okay. But you're talking about going a couple of miles with no speed limit sign. And once people pass that 30-mile-an-hour sign, they think it's 55. And it's not. And I'm not going to stand out there and tell them to slow down. Because it's 30, they're still in the city.
Jared, I think the sign,
Jared, you could put one at Hotchkiss and you could put one at Gillen, and that should cover it.
yeah.
Okay. My other question is what are your plans? I'm talking about the mayor or the governor's, not the governor's, the senators meeting, and I was told by the mayor that you're going to have police coverage up here to slow down the speeders. And I just wanted to get back on that and find out when that may be happening.
Well, we don't have anyone representing the police department administration at today's meeting. I know that generally speaking, things like speed traffic control, as well as running radar or looking at that is manpower dependent. We do have a traffic division that does that from time to time, and it is manpower dependent. I can't say that it has any regularity because of the shortage of officers in the patrol division in terms of filling shifts. This has to be done through some type of special detail. And I've spoken to police administration. I know that Chief Yeager, before he retired, was on many of these calls and heard the requests as well.
Okay, I just wanted to get back with the senator and say, I've got a resolution. I don't have a resolution. How do I go forward?
I would say that you can let them know that the request has been made and that the city is allocating resources as available to speed on Pennsylvania Ave. But the speed limit thing is something we can take care of very shortly. Mark Donovan is on the call. Mark, if you want to get with Dan Carell, that's not something that requires traffic board approval. We can install speed limit signs specifically at the near the intersection of Gillen Drive to get further up the hill. And this is going south.
On the list right now to get done.
Okay.
Jared, this is John Ryan. I am on the call. I was monitoring what you were saying and would double down on your sentiments relative to manpower. We did assign details to randomly as patrols were available to make selective enforcement activities at that location. We can continue with that and reinforce that with our patrols, but we didn't have any specific details. If there's a particular time of day or where there's a higher traffic volume, we could certainly assess that, but patrols are aware of the situation and have monitored it and enforced it where they are available.
Okay, and last year I sent over the traffic study that the sheriff's department did do, and it told the times of day that were the worst, and it was early morning and people going home at night.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. We're talking maybe 3-4 hours a day. I know people are going to say, you're taking time out of my busy schedule. But you know what? This is my house. This is where I live. I have to cross this road. And I don't want to get killed. I really don't.
No, I understand your concerns. I haven't been on the traffic board. Chief Yeager has just retired. So I'll look into where that study might be as well. And we'll do our best to commit some resources for some selective.
I believe I sent it, or the sheriff's department sent it to the police department.
Okay.
So I think it's somewhere in the police. If you don't have it, please let me know. I will send you a copy.
Sounds good.
I asked to have it done because the weather's getting nice and people are just going crazy.
Sure.
And there's nobody up here to stop them, to patrol them, nothing. So we need the police. We really do. Hello?
We're here, Heather.
They fucking hung up on me.
No, we're here.
No, we're here, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Heather, I hear you. We've been hearing you. I again would say that I appreciate you attending all the traffic board meetings. This type of citizen engagement is good. It's very clear that you're passionate about this issue. I think we've taken a number of steps to make it positive. I think that we can still do more with the speed limit signs in particular. But I think that we're probably, from a traffic board perspective, at the limits of what we can actually accomplish through our powers. I think a lot of it has to do with the enforcement from a BPD level that's beyond the scope of traffic board is handled through police administration. So I would encourage you, Heather, you can work with me and you can work with BPD, but I'm not sure that in future traffic board meetings that we'll be able to provide any additional information or action other than what we've done so far. And that's just due to the limitations of what we have power over as a traffic board, which mainly has to do with signs, curb cuts, and changes to the traffic code rather than enforcement.
Well, and that's what I was asking for, signs. You know,
So just to make you aware, and if there's no other comments from the board, take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Or Ray makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Art makes a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.